The astonishing case of Purnima Ekanaik. Imagine your 3-year-old daughter suddenly telling you she isn't really your child. She insists, "I already had another family. I died in a motorcycle accident. My home isn't here." Now, put yourself in the parent's shoes. Would you believe her? Call it imagination? Or would you be terrified to hear such a small child speak with so much conviction? Before we dive into this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a like. Here, every day, you'll discover real and chilling cases that challenge science and might change the way you see life and death. And what if a child could actually prove that consciousness survives death, bringing back memories from another life? Purnima's childhood. Purnima Ekanaik was born into a humble family in Sri Lanka. From infancy, her parents noticed something different about her. It wasn't just her personality, there was something in her gaze, a seriousness unusual for her age. At just 3 years old, she began speaking spontaneously about strange things. She claimed she worked in an incense factory, that she had a small son, and that she had died in a motorcycle accident. At first, her parents laughed or tried to ignore it. But as she grew, the details became more specific. She described the smell of incense, how her hands got stained by the powder, and streets she had never visited. Then came the most disturbing revelation. "My name is Mahatma Upadhyaya. I died in a motorcycle accident." Now think about it. How could a 3-year-old invent not just a name, but also a profession, work habits, and even the exact way she died? Details from a past life. Purnima's accounts weren't vague. She described in detail the incense-making process, mixing aromatic powders, hand-rolling the sticks, and leaving them to dry in the sun. She had never seen this in her current life, yet she spoke like someone who had done it thousands of times. She also recalled family moments. She said she had a wife and a young son. She told stories of playing with him and even described a specific scratch on a piece of furniture in the house. These claims began to worry her parents. Traffic accidents were not uncommon in their town, but how could their daughter speak as though she had lived and died in one? And here's the eeriest detail of all. Purnima was born with a dark birthmark on her chest, exactly where the man named Mahatma had received his fatal impact in the accident. The investigation. Intrigued, her parents sought help. Researchers in Sri Lanka, inspired by the work of Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia, followed the case. They investigated whether there really had been someone named Mahatma Upadhyaya who had died in such circumstances. To everyone's surprise, records were found of a man by that exact name, an incense maker, who had died in a motorcycle accident years before Purnima was born. The details matched: profession, cause of death, location, and even the existence of a small child. But the most shocking part was yet to come. When Purnima was taken to the town where Mahatma had lived, she began guiding the adults as if she already knew every street, every corner, every house. The encounter with the previous family. When they arrived at Mahatma's former home, Purnima ran straight to the door and said, "This was my house." Inside, she met the man's widow and son. The reaction was overwhelming. The little girl cried, calling them by their correct names, hugging them as if they truly were her family. The widow was in shock. How could a stranger's child know the affectionate nickname only Mahatma had used for her? How could she describe hidden scratches on the furniture or reveal secrets never shared outside the family? With every confirmed detail, the weight of truth became harder to deny. Now tell me, how could a girl who had never left her town recognize strangers, walk into their home, and point out secrets only the deceased would know? The birthmark. One of the most debated aspects was the birthmark on Purnima's chest. Doctors and researchers examined it closely. It was dark, irregular, and matched perfectly with the wound described in the motorcycle accident that killed Mahatma. According to reports, the man had died from a violent blow to the chest. Purnima's birthmark was in the exact same spot. For researchers, this couldn't be a coincidence. Such marks have been documented in other cases studied by Ian Stevenson, but seeing it unfold in real time, along with such vivid memories, made Purnima's case even more extraordinary. Are birthmarks merely genetic accidents, or are they spiritual scars carried across death to remind us of who we once were? The cultural impact. In Sri Lanka, where Buddhism and Hinduism already embraced the idea of reincarnation, Purnima's case wasn't entirely dismissed. On the contrary, many saw it as a confirmation of their spiritual beliefs. But for the families involved, it was an emotional burden. Purnima's biological parents felt torn between accepting their daughter's memories and fearing she might drift away from them. Meanwhile, Maharatma's family, especially his widow, felt both pain and comfort. It was as if her husband had found a way to return and prove that the soul never dies. And here comes another unsettling question. If consciousness truly survives and can return in another body, do we all carry hidden marks or memories of who we once were? Researchers who studied the case concluded that the number of confirmed details was impossible to ignore. Purnima wasn't just making vague statements. She had specific knowledge, a matching physical mark, and recognized real people from another life. For mainstream science, it remains an unexplained mystery. For spiritualists, it stands as one of the strongest proofs that reincarnation is real. And you, have you ever wondered where your scars, fears, phobias, or even inexplicable talents might come from? The climax. The climax of Purnima's story was the meeting with her previous family. There, before witnesses, a 4-year-old girl managed to prove she remembered a life that wasn't hers. The widow's tears, the embrace of the child, the intimate details revealed, all of it made clear this was no imagination. It was memory. It was life. It was reincarnation before everyone's eyes. If a 3-year-old girl could carry such powerful memories, could our own scars and birthmarks be hiding stories of who we once were? Do you believe Purnima truly brought back Mahatma's memories? Or do you think it's simply a mystery science may never be able to explain? Before we move on to the next case, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. The next stories are even more chilling, and you won't want to miss them. The incredible case of Cameron Macaulay. Imagine a 5-year-old boy suddenly saying things like, "My home is on the island of Bara. My other mom is waiting for me. I died when the plane crashed into the sea." Now imagine that, upon investigating, you discover that this island really exists, that the house he described also exists, and that everything he said could actually be confirmed. Before diving into this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a like. Here you'll find stories so mysterious they challenge everything you believe about life and death. Could memories of past lives truly cross oceans and return in the mind of a child, revealing places they have never visited? The beginning of the accounts. Cameron Macaulay was born in Glasgow, Scotland. From a very young age, he showed signs that his mind carried something beyond a normal childhood. At just 3 years old, he began speaking of another house, another family, and a life no one knew about. He would often repeat to his mother, "Norma, I have another mother. She lives in Bara." Cameron had never traveled to the island of Bara. It lies over 200 kilometers from Glasgow, accessible only by plane or ferry. Yet the boy described details of the house where he claimed to have lived, a white house facing the sea, with a view of the beach. He spoke about the family's car, a black car parked in front of the house. He described having siblings, a loving mother, and memories of playing in the sand at the beach. Now tell me, how could a 3-year-old child invent with such certainty a remote island, a family with a specific last name, and even a car he had never seen? Don't forget to like this video. The next details will send chills down your spine. The mother's distress. Norma, Cameron's biological mother, was deeply unsettled. At first, she thought it was just childish imagination. But the stories became constant. Cameron would cry, saying he missed his mother from Bara. Sometimes, He insisted he wanted to go back home, to where he truly belonged. These statements were painful for Norma, who felt rejected. How do you cope with a child who claims you aren't their real mother? Even so, the sincerity in Cameron's eyes left no doubt. He truly believed what he was saying. And here's a detail impossible to ignore. Cameron not only spoke of Bara but also mentioned the last name of his previous family, Robertson. Could it be that he really once lived as a Robertson in another life? The journey to the island. Because of the boy's persistence, researchers decided to investigate. A team of documentarians took Cameron to the island of Bara to see what would happen. The trip was filled with anticipation. During the flight, Cameron gazed out the window with shining eyes, as if he knew exactly where he was going. As the plane approached the island, he pointed excitedly. "There. That's my home." Upon landing, Cameron behaved as if he were returning home. He recognized landmarks, beaches, and even described routes before they had reached them. Now think, coincidence, or real memories crossing the boundaries of time. The discovery of the house. Walking through the island, Cameron guided the researchers to a white house facing the sea. When he arrived, he said firmly, "This is my house." And indeed, the house existed. It belonged to the Robertson family, exactly the surname Cameron had mentioned. Inside, he described details no one had told him. He said how many bathrooms the house had, talked about the position of the bedrooms, and even pointed out specific scratches on furniture. Every detail was confirmed by the family living there. Now tell me, how could a 5-year-old, with no access to books, photos, or stories about the island, describe a real house with such accuracy? Recognition of objects and places. Beyond the house, Cameron recognized the beach where he said he used to play. He ran joyfully, pointing to specific spots and saying, "I used to play here with my brothers." The researchers were stunned by the child's naturalness and confidence. There was no doubt these were real memories to him. He even mentioned the black car parked in front of the house. Historical records confirmed that the Robertson family indeed owned a car identical to the one Cameron described. Coincidence after coincidence, or a growing body of evidence pointing to something far greater, reincarnation? The emotional weight. For Norma, his current mother, the experience was difficult. She saw her son filled with emotion upon seeing his former home, but she also suffered from the feeling of not being enough. Cameron said he loved his mother from Bara and missed her. This emotional conflict made it clear that even for children, past life memories can bring real pain. And here's a disturbing question. Could we all carry unexplained longings for places or people that actually belong to our past lives? Cameron's case was widely studied. Psychologists, psychiatrists, and reincarnation researchers tried to explain it. Some skeptics suggested it was just imagination, but none could account for the accuracy of the details. The family's surname, the location of the house, the number of bathrooms, the color of the walls, the family's car. For believers in reincarnation, Cameron was living proof that the mind does not die with the body. And you, have you ever wondered if your strangest dreams aren't just imagination, but hidden memories of who you once were? The most striking moment came when Cameron entered the White House. He moved through the rooms as if he had lived there for years. He touched the walls, recognized the bedrooms, and even described memories with the Robertson family. The residents were astonished by his precision. It was impossible to deny that this boy had a deep connection with the place. If Cameron truly brought back memories of the Robertson family, then we may be looking at one of the strongest cases of reincarnation in the Western world. Do you believe Cameron truly lived on the island of Bara in another life? Or do you think it's all just an extraordinary coincidence? If this story touched you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. In the next episode, we'll uncover another astonishing case that could forever change your view of life and death. The shocking case of James Leininger. Imagine your young son waking up in the middle of the night, screaming, tears running down his face. He thrashes, points at the ceiling, and pleads. The plane is on fire. The man can't get out. Now, if this were just a child's nightmare, you'd take a deep breath and try to calm him down. But what if the same dream repeated itself night after night, always with the same details? And what if, when asked, your son said he was the man trapped inside the burning plane? Before diving into this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a like. Here, every day, you'll discover real past life cases that will leave you speechless. What if a 2-year-old child could carry in his mind the memories of a pilot who died in World War II? James's childhood. James Leininger was born in 1998 in San Diego, California. Son of Bruce and Andrea, he seemed like a normal boy, active, curious, full of energy. But shortly after turning 2, something changed. Suddenly, the nightmares began. James would wake up screaming, fists clenched, body drenched in sweat, repeating phrases that sent chills down his parents' spines. Plane on fire. Man can't get out. At first, Bruce and Andrea thought it was just imagination. But the dreams were so vivid and frequent that they started to worry. It wasn't normal for a child to relive the same trauma night after night, especially with such specific phrases. And here's the terrifying detail. When asked who the man in the plane was, James answered, "It's me." Don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear these stories. The obsession with airplanes. During the day, James loved playing with toy planes. But what seemed like a normal childhood passion soon revealed something far stranger. He knew technical terms such as drop tank and propeller. Remember, he was only 2 years old. His parents had never taught him these words, and he had no exposure to military books or documentaries. James also constantly drew planes crashing into the sea, engulfed in flames. Every drawing contained the same detail: an explosion near the engine and the pilot trapped inside the cockpit. Now think, how could a boy barely able to write make repeated drawings of burning planes, describing technical parts only pilots or engineers would know? The name, Natoma. One day, James told his parents he had flown on a ship called Natoma. They were puzzled. After some research, they discovered that the USS Natoma Bay was indeed a real aircraft carrier that fought in the Pacific during World War II. James also mentioned that he had died when his plane was shot down by the Japanese on a mission. And he added another detail: he had a friend named Jack Larson. When Bruce checked the records, he found that there really was a pilot named Jack Larson listed in the USS Natoma Bay Squadron. And here's the revelation that left everyone in shock. James not only named a real ship, but also a real pilot who had served on it. How could that be possible for a 2-year-old boy? Identity revealed. The investigations pointed to a pilot named James Houston, Jr., who died in 1945. He had flown a Corsair, the exact aircraft model little James had described. Houston was killed when his plane was hit and crashed in flames during the Battle of Iwo Jima. James Leininger described everything with uncanny accuracy. The type of plane, the landing difficulties of the Corsair, the attack that led to the crash. It was as if he had watched his own death again and again. Now tell me, are these just coincidences or real memories of a past life? Meeting the veterans. To test this further, James's parents took him to reunions of veterans who had served on the USS Natoma Bay. And the impossible happened. He recognized several men, calling them by their correct names, though he had never seen them before. One veteran broke down in tears as James described details of secret missions, details never published in any book, known only to those who had actually been there. Think about it. If it were just imagination, how do you explain a child recognizing war veterans, citing names and stories that had never been made public? The weight of the drawings. James's drawings kept repeating the same theme: planes crashing, explosions at sea, pilots trapped. Always the same scene. When his parents asked who the pilot was, he would answer, "It was me. I'm James." And here's the most chilling part. The pilot who died in 1945 was named James Houston Jr. Now, decades later, another James seemed to carry his memories. Coincidence or destiny? Two lives separated by time, united by the same name and the same trauma. Reunion with the previous family. The case gained national attention. The family of James Houston Jr. agreed to meet the boy. To everyone's astonishment, he recognized relatives, described intimate moments from the pilot's childhood, and even mentioned family secrets never shared publicly. Houston's sister declared, "There's no way this boy could know that. It's as if my brother came back." And you, how would you react if a child you had never met suddenly appeared and revealed private details about your deceased loved one? Impact and studies. The case was so extraordinary that it was studied by researchers connected to Dr. Ian Stevenson's work. For them, James is one of the best documented cases of possible reincarnation in the West. Skeptics tried to dismiss it as a hoax, but none could explain the technical accuracy, the names, and the emotions involved. Could it be that war left scars not only on the survivors, but also on the souls who returned in new bodies? The climax of the story is the union of past and present. A 2-year-old boy relived the death of a pilot killed half a century earlier. His screams of terror, his drawings, and his memories all seemed like fragments of a life cut short by war. If James truly was James Houston Jr., then we are looking at one of the strongest proofs that consciousness survives death and returns. Do you believe James was really the pilot James Houston Jr. reborn? Or do you think a child's mind could somehow create coincidences so perfect? If this story gave you chills, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. In the next episode, you'll discover another chilling case that will challenge everything you believe about life and death. The well-known case of Shanti Shukla and Baya Pathak. Imagine a 4-year-old boy, living in an ordinary village in India, suddenly looking at his parents and saying with conviction, "I'm not who you think I am. I was a woman named Baya. I had children, a family, a home in another city. And I died." Now tell me, how would you react if your young child not only said this but also began giving names, locations, and intimate secrets that later turned out to be true? Before diving into this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and leave a like. Every day we bring real stories that challenge science and leave you speechless. Could the soul cross time and return in a different body, bringing back not only memories but also bonds of love that survive death? Shanti Shukla's childhood. Shanti Shukla was born into a traditional Hindu family. From a very young age, he surprised his parents with unusual statements. While other children played hide-and-seek, he would stare at his mother and say, "I have another mother." The parents, confused, tried to laugh it off or change the subject. But day by day, Shanti's stories grew more detailed. He said he had been a married woman named Baya Pathak, who lived in another city, had children, and managed a large household. He spoke about religious rituals, about the courtyard of the house, and even about the illness that had supposedly led to his death. Now tell me, how could a 4-year-old boy invent the full name of a woman, describe the daily life of an unknown family, and even mention religious traditions he had never witnessed in his current life? Drop a comment below. Do you believe children can truly remember past lives? The family's discomfort. At first, Shanti's parents thought it was just the imagination of a creative child. But the discomfort grew. He didn't just talk about it. He cried out of longing for his former family. He said he missed his children, recalled the nicknames he used for them, and described with emotion the moments shared with his husband. For a child that young, it was impossible to invent so many details, especially details filled with such emotion and sorrow. Neighbors began to talk, and soon the case attracted the attention of local scholars. And here's a detail impossible to ignore. Shanti described Baya's courtyard with precision, mentioning a specific tree where she used to rest. When investigated, the tree was there, exactly as he had said. The beginning of the investigation. Researchers decided to verify whether someone named Baya Pathak had actually existed. To everyone's astonishment, they found records. Baya was a woman who had died just a few years before Shanti was born. She had lived in a nearby city and had left behind young children. The boy, who had never left his village, described her home, her family, and even her husband. The investigators decided to take Shanti to Baya's city. What happened was chilling. The reunion with the former family. Upon arriving, Shanti grew emotional. He recognized the streets, pointed out the way to the old house, and once inside, ran to embrace Baya's children. The young ones were stunned. Some cried upon hearing the child call them by the same nicknames only their mother had used. He even revealed intimate family secrets, mentioning a hidden jewelry box that was found exactly where he had said it would be. Baya's husband was shocked. How could a child know such private details? Now think, are we dealing with imagination, coincidence, or the clearest evidence that consciousness truly survives death? Astonishing confirmations. Among the details confirmed were the names of each of Baya's children, the color of the house and the layout of the rooms, the nickname her husband used, the hiding place of the jewelry box, the tree in the courtyard. Shanti even described how Baya died, a prolonged illness, surrounded by family. He spoke with such clarity that it left everyone in silence. And here's a disturbing question. If such specific memories can resurface in a child, could all of us carry hidden memories that simply haven't awakened yet? The emotional weight. For Baya's children, the encounter was overwhelming. Some felt relief, believing their mother had returned in some way. Others felt pain, unable to cope with the memories. For Shanti, it was a mix of joy and sadness. He recognized his former family, but he also knew he had a new life. This emotional conflict was far too heavy for such a small child. And you, how would you react if a stranger entered your home, revealed your secrets, and said, "I used to be your mother"? Cultural reflections. In India, stories of reincarnation are more accepted. But even so, Shanti's case drew special attention. This wasn't blind faith, but concrete details confirmed by real people. The story was reported in newspapers and debated in religious communities. For many, it was living proof that reincarnation is not just philosophy, but reality. Now imagine, what if that sense of déjà vu you sometimes feel isn't coincidence, but a forgotten fragment of who you once were? The impact on his current parents. For Shanti's biological parents, the experience was confusing. On one hand, they felt proud to have such a special son. On the other, they feared losing him to his former family. It was painful to hear their child say he loved another mother, another home, another life. The cultural and emotional shock was profound. Is death truly the end, or just a doorway to continue in another story? The most moving moment came when Shanti embraced Baya's children. The boy wept, saying he missed them, and they, deeply touched, responded as though they had been reunited with their mother. Even skeptics were shaken. Faced with so many confirmed details, there was only one conclusion. Baya's life seemed to continue through Shanti. If Shanti truly had been Baya Pathak in another life, then we are looking at one of the most touching stories ever recorded, that of a mother's love strong enough to survive death itself. Do you believe Shanti was really the reincarnation of Baya? Or do you think it's nothing more than extraordinary coincidences we may never be able to explain? If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell. Here, we'll continue bringing you astonishing stories that may forever change the way you see life and death.